Hello, everybody. I'd like to welcome you here this afternoon to our Mastercraft talk. I'm just going to wait a minute or two now for people to log on because it just takes a while. Just to let you know that if anybody has any questions or if they'd like to make any comments, there's a Q&A box at the bottom of your screen and a chat box that you can click on and type in any questions or comments that you might have. I'm going to introduce you now to Dr. Niki Collier, who is doing the masterclass this afternoon, and she's going to just look into the traditional Irish textile construction and its implementation on handmade felt. And I'd also like to welcome, I believe the Bulgarian ambassador is registered and logged on to this mastercraft today, so I'd like to welcome her along. And I'll hand over to you there now, Niki. Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Mary. Hello, everyone, and welcome to my studio. I'm really excited for you guys to be joining me today. First of all, it gives me excuse to be in my studio and to do one of my most favorite things, making felt for you. I want to show you my passion for Ireland and for Irish textiles, and how this and take you on the journey that I am on with making the first truly Irish felt tweed. So I'm going to switch the camera so that you can see the samples and you can look into the process that I'm going to explain. So I started this like most of us do, with looking at the things that we love. So I looked into Irish yarn, and it has this amazing quality of being really very multicolored and having small speckles, which makes it very special. Because when you look into it, it's actually made exactly the same way as felt. It starts with the different colored wools, and they're blended together with small bits and pieces to produce the yarn. And from the yarn, then you produce different tweeds. So I was committed to make felt that has this look. But the problem was that when you use different products, they have different functions. So, for example, if you're wearing a glove, you would need it to be gentle and soft onto your hand. But if you're wearing a hat, you would want it to keep its shape and to stay nicely on your head, and still have to preserve the color and the texture throughout all the different products. This is one of the scarves in this collection. So I'm just going to show you how I found a way to do that. Just talk a little bit more about the products themselves. I actually incorporate remnants of tweed into the hats to give it extra texture. And I aim to produce hats that show all the different colors that have gone into them. So when you cut, my brims are not sewn, they're just cut and stiffened to show this different layers of wool that go into them. And another thing that I do in my products is use the remnants from the hats or the scarves or different other bits and pieces that I make, and I incorporate them into my product, into my textile. So I also, sometimes I get really very determined to make everything as it was in the original piece that I'm learning from. So Irish tweed has this structure that goes diagonally. So I lay my fibers in the same manner. And you can see this is only one layer here. And what I've done before that, I have actually laid the naps. This is just bits and pieces from wool that cannot be used in the yarn when it's produced smoothly. So that's why I really love the Donegal Studio yarn, because you actually include things that nobody thinks are worth anything, and you make the final textile. And this is just cuts-offs into small squares, like the one that I've shown you cutting from the hat. And the final thing I do is I lay the fibers at a 45 degrees, which is called actually the herringbone technique in felting. And it is how tweed is made when it's weaved. So it's actually emulating that as well. And I put them at 45 degrees opposite to each other. So the initial fiber, it was the first layer is made with this, is put in this way. And now the one that I'm using now is going in the opposite way. I'm doing the demonstration with a fiber that is my personal favorite. It's called Blueface Leicester, and it's one of the few local breeds luxury fibers that you can work with. And I use in the scarves and in the gloves that I make, I also use silk or blended silk, so that it gives it an extra luster. And also when fibers trap into silk, the final product is much nicer. Whenever I teach children, I always explain that felt fabric is very much like a metaphor for a strong society. The most diverse fibers you have in constructing the fabric, you have the best results of texture and strength of the product. So after I've laid something that looks like this, I finish it with the same fiber that I started, which is this color here. And I make those extremely thin. If you look at it, it will be transparent. You'll be able to see the bottom of what I'm laying. So the bottom is not covered, and that is for scarves and gloves. And after that, I just put some of the remnants of the felt that I've used. So another thing that I always try to encourage people to try felt, because it's so much fun. If you notice, I work predominantly with one hand, and it's just, I was born with damage of my right hand. So I always say that if I can do it with one hand, what excuse do you have to not have a go at it? And it does make some jobs a little bit less fast that I would appreciate, but craft is a slow love process. So you just get used to it and you enjoy the moments like that. So this is what the laying for a scarf and a glove looks like. I've also pre-laid, just bear with me, I'm just going to swap plates here, or switch tables. I just wanted to show you the difference in laying for a hat and laying for scarf and gloves. And the process of felting, the final process of felting is actually the same. You use a sprinkle of water, some soap. I use soap from Dolce soaps that is byproduct of producing a beautifully shaped soap, and also soap from Bar Essentials. And I put it in my water and then I work the felt. It is easier to see the difference in the two thicknesses. So this is the thickness that you will need for making a hat. And this is the thickness, the amount of wool that you will need in the same square area for making scarf and gloves. And they end up being the same size, even if they're different weight. And that is because of the silk and the way you work the fibers. So this is the hat thickness, and you can see how when you cut it, you get all the different layers that you've worked with. So the only difference is that I lay the hat layers twice. So I lay after the white, I start relaying again the dark and the light, the dark and the lighter blue face Leicester, and the one in the middle I lay double the amount. So once you have your water and your felt, you then produce the fabric, and it shrinks that much. So,
sorry, Niki, could you just move it in on the table a bit? Or yeah, if you could just move it in so we could see.
Thank you.
Okay, thanks.
Yeah. Yeah. So it shrinks that much. So this is the final light one, and this is the final heavy one. So that's the hat one, and this is the scarf and the gloves one. So I'm just going to show you how it transforms from fine wispy fibers into fabric. And in my work, I use felting tools that are designed by myself and Nicola Brown, and are sold all over the world, especially when there are no restrictions for traveling of products, which at the moment I experience with certain countries. I work with a lot of soap, which might be very different to how some people make felt. And whenever I teach, I try to explain to people that everyone needs to find their own groove working with one hand often is a great excuse to explain to people that they need to find their own way of doing things, as I'm going to be showing them with one hand, and they'll have the ability to be doing it with two hands. Another thing that I do differently at present is a lot of people would be using actually bubble wrap, which is great, and I use it all the time. It's just when you're creating a fabric that has so many things that are not naturally sticking to it, I find that it is best to work with underlay, and much to the dismay of my family, I look for it everywhere at building sites or at any kind of place that people get rid of stuff, like skips. And I take it and use it for my work. So a lot of what you're hearing today is how I try to transform things that are rubbish into beautiful piece of fabric that is very personal and which has been developed with great respect for Irish heritage. I sometimes try to understand why myself is so passionate about Irish heritage, and when and I understand that for some my accent would be where they would place me. But I have lived here, I have lived in Dublin longer than I've lived anywhere else in the world. And although, you know, I would always say that I'm Bulgarian. When people ask me where I'm from, I always say I'm from South Circular Road in Dublin, because this is my home at the moment, which makes it very difficult when Eurovision comes, because in my family we have two Irish girls, an English bloke, for which I always apologize, and myself, who is Bulgarian. So it's always very difficult to vote in Eurovision. But my belief is that Ireland is supporting Bulgaria in Eurovision this year, so that's great. So I basically, what I did was I laid those out, and then I cut them in the middle, which is something very painful for a felt maker like myself. I don't really like cutting felt. After you've put so much passion into creating it from scratch, it's really difficult to cut fabric. The reason I did that was to show you the shrinkage process of the two different weights of felt that I'm making, and just to show you the overall result in the two pieces so that you can compare better how they work out. Now, the thinner one is felted less than the heavier one. So another trick is to get some of the water out, or some of the soap in from the fabric. I just put a towel onto it, and now I'm just going to roll it. If you roll your felt onto a soft surface, it will be soft. If you want stronger felt, ideally, you will roll it onto a hard surface. So I have this theory how when the felt is still gentle, you roll it in just bubble wrap or in underlay. And when it becomes stronger, you put it on a board and you work it that way. So the scarf part of my fabric doesn't need as much work as the rest. So I'm just going to take some of the water out. When I originally started making felt, I was in a studio that I was in a decongregated church. So it was, I'm really happy now to be working in a purpose-built studio where I have a sink with running water, which is a great advantage if you work in felt making. This stage doesn't make it as pleasant to your eyes as I believe it is. At any stage, we were teaching children in Phoenix Park, and one of the boys looked at this stage and said, "Oh my God, it's ridiculous. Are you kidding me?" So I always call that stage this way. This is ridiculous. Okay, I'm going to cut the thin piece of felt because it's already where it needs to be. And then I'm going to show you how I finish it. So I always work it in all directions. Sorry, I don't know where that appeared. Or some people work it in their hands like that, but it's not as comfortable for me. And that's why I use tools. And I would have quite a lot of respect for tools because they're a great way of helping your ideas and your designs to get to where you want them to be. Okay. So this needs a bit more work. Now it's ready. I'm just going to wash it and show it to you again. Okay, and this is basically the thin piece of felt that I've made earlier. This is still wet, so it won't have the same ability to flare like I'm just going to try to wash it as much as I could. I'm going to try to wash it as much as I could so that I can show you how it layers, how it drapes nicely, because it's much thinner than the other piece. It is a bit small, so it won't, yeah, that's it. And this is the big piece that I have been making. I use much more tension, much more pressure when I make the pieces for hats, and I finish them with my tools. It allows the felt to be much stronger. So, and some pieces do come out and they don't all trap into the felt. And some stay in a way as if they're going to be falling off, but they don't. So it creates a very rich texture onto the process. And this needs a bit more work. As I said, almost any craft is a labor of love, and it's a slow process. You can't magic something in 2 minutes. So you just have to enjoy every step. The reason I love felting is because for me it's like a craft spa. You have the smell, the beautiful warm water, and you work with natural product that after that transforms into something that has been in your imagination. So I'm just going to wash this and show you how I cut it. And after that, if you have any questions.
Niki, there's a question in here. Jane is just interested in finding out about your sources, where to purchase wool and soap, etc., especially Irish sources.
Yeah, so for Irish wool, I buy mine from a UK supplier called World of Wool because they produce consistently quantities that are quantities and type of wool that is consistent in the way it looks and it works. I also work with local farmers like K2 Alpaca, who produce alpaca to make some experimental or special pieces. So apart from wool, she was wondering about tools or soap.
Yeah.
Yeah. So the soap, if she's interested in trying this soap, she can contact me, and I have it as part of my product. So this is basically remnants of artisan soap that has been produced here in Ireland. And the test of the soap is really interesting because I can work only with natural product, as I'm with in water and soap all the time. And if the soap is not good quality, it really affects your hands and even your breathing. So it's something that you really need to think a lot about when you're choosing your product. So I cut the felt that I made just to show you the different layers that have formed inside. and each piece has slightly different hue. So unless it dries, it will be more difficult to see the white because the white becomes a bit more transparent. And I was a bit heavy on the cutting, but this is the piece that I've created earlier. And this is the final product in green and beige. Yeah, so that's me. If you have any more questions, I'm just going to switch the camera. And if people want to know something else, or if not, I think I can't make a hat, unfortunately, in half an hour.
Yeah, I know, it's too quick. No, there's a few people there saying thank you very much. It was very interesting and they've enjoyed having a look there to see how you make it, and it's very good, and thank you for that. So I think that's it. Thanks, Niki, and we'll talk to you again.
Thank you so much.
Okay.
And thank you for joining me today.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye.